Jimmy says, who's one free agent you think the Vikings should try to get, like how they got Pat P last year? Okay, so with the Vikings, we're in a terrible cap situation, and right now we have to focus on interior offensive line, and we have to focus on how we're going to run our defense next year. Because if you look at the Vikings here, I'll put this back up. If you look at the Vikings right now, because Ed Donatell's leading our defense, we're expected to run a 3-4 defense. And I've mentioned how the Vikings are not going to be able to do this. You can't. We don't have a 3-4 that we can simply just have right now and put out there. And then you've also talked about how offenses are running a lot more 11 personnel, meaning they're running more wide receivers. You're going to see 3-4 wide receivers on the field at the same time. And the Vikings simply cannot game plan against this. When we have players, I mean, but we already cut Bashad Breeland, Mackenzie Alexander has to go. Patrick Peterson, we likely can't bring him back as well. We'll see. Outside of that, Cam Dantzler, who are we going to have at corner? We have nobody that we can throw in at corner, that we can plug in at corner day one. As of right now, as we speak, February 24th, we don't have anyone. And then you look at linebacker, same situation. We can't afford Anthony Barr. Nick Vigil will likely be gone. We don't have outside linebackers that we can plug in at starters. So running a 3-4 defense is not going to benefit us when we don't have players that we can plug in. So if you look at free agency, this is where you have to fill your needs. And I've said this many times on the show. I say that free agency is for filling your needs. Draft is for taking value. Draft is for value. Free agency is for needs. Meaning you take players based off of their position in free agency. You take players based off of how good they are in the draft. That's the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it. That's what you've seen the Patriots do. Why have the Patriots been so great? Because they find value in the draft and they fill their needs in free agency. That way they can just take whoever the best players available in the draft. This is what I want to see the Vikings do here. And when you look at our linebacker group right now, obviously Eric Kendricks, outstanding linebacker. He's going to be with the team. The best off-ball linebacker in football. Yes, that's a very biased opinion, but I believe he is the best off-ball linebacker in football. Outside of that, you need to put players alongside him. I mean, Anthony Barr is going to be gone. Nick Vigil is going to be bonked. Are we going to plug in Troy Dye and Chaz Surratt? I don't think so. So you look into free agency. If there's one player I want is Harold Landry. Harold Landry right now is the outside linebacker for the Tennessee Titans, and he's not expected to be franchise tagged. I don't believe franchise tag would be smart for them at all, as you don't franchise tag players who aren't top 5 at their position. Harold Landry is a player to mention here because he's a very young outside linebacker who is a stud. Okay, if you watched Harold Landry go against the Cincinnati Bengals in the championship or divisional round, he was all over Joe Burrow's face. Why did Joe Burrow get sacked 9 times in that game? Harold Landry, one of the most underrated linebackers in all of football. And I'm a big fan of signing this, what's his name? Mike Smith. Mike Smith is our new pass rushing and outside linebacker coach. And I believe he's going to look at him and say, that is value right there. That is value, because you look at this upcoming linebacker class. You have Von Miller, Chandler Jones, Hassan Reddick. Like, you have big name linebackers hitting free agency that the Vikings simply cannot afford. You get a player like Harold Landry, that is my number one spot right now. 100%. Yes, because you look at first wave of free agency, these are your big name players. I mean, Von Miller is hitting free agency. I mean, Chandler Jones is hitting free agency. I believe Hassan Reddick, I've mentioned him before. I think Hassan Reddick's hitting free agency. These are big name players. These are players everyone knows who light up the field, who make Pro Bowls, who are all pros. Like, everyone knows who these players are. I'm looking at those underrated players. I'm trying to Bill Belichick this crap and look at those underrated players that we can find and just plug in as starters and turn them into superstars. Bill Belichick won free agency this last year. Why? Because he signed players people weren't looking at. Everyone looks at the same few players. No one looks at the players who had great performance, young players who people don't necessarily, who aren't household names yet. Like Harold Landry. I mean, look at what Bill Belichick did last year. He signed Matt Judon and signed Hunter Henry. I mean, people know who the people are, but they weren't big name players. They weren't top tier like free agents. However, he signed these players and developed them into superstars. Hunter Henry was one of their top targets this year, and then Matt Judon was arguably the best free agent signing of this last year.